So on July 7th, Google quietly updated its merchant listing structured data docs. And if you only read the headlines, you'd think it was a nice little SEO win. I want to walk through what actually changed because my read is that this is less than an upgrade and more of what I've started calling a convergence tax. By the end, you'll know exactly what to add, what to leave alone, and the one sale pricing trap that silently serves the wrong price. So there are two things here. The first is a new category property you can put right on the page in your product schema, either as plain text, which is basically your own product type, or as category code, which is a Google product category. The second is a whole section on sale duration, how to put a start and end date on a sale price. And the thing to notice is the word Google keeps using, which is align. They're not saying this ranks you better. They're saying it lines up what you can say in your own page schema with what you already send in your product feed. And that distinction really matters because a lot of the coverage is reading now supported as now rewarded. Category isn't even a required property for merchant listings. The required stuff is still name, image, price, and currency. Google already auto-classifies every product you send it into its own taxonomy without any input from you. So adding a category to your schema doesn't create some new signal. It just gives an existing feed a second home. For most catalogs, it changes basically nothing about how you rank. Here's the part that's going to bite people. That category code option lets you stamp a Google product category straight onto your page. But in the feed, that field, Google product category, is override only. You're only supposed to set it to correct a misclassification or for a regulated category like alcohol. Blanket filling it is a well-known anti-pattern because you're overriding Google's own classifier with codes then have to maintain by hand. And the new schema doc shows you exactly how to set it without repeating that warning. So someone reads it, thinks great, I'll add GPC to my schema, and ends up cargo culting the feed's worst habit onto a brand new surface. And I've watched this go wrong. In one audit, the client had loaded their own internal taxonomy into Google product category. It made sense to their business, but not to how shoppers or Google systems actually group these products, and it was hurting them. So we moved these values over to product type, where your own taxonomy belongs, and we let Google's auto classification own the GPC. Organic shopping clicks went up by about 20%. And the rule of thumb I took from that is fill in the optional fields that genuinely help, but let auto classification own categorization because your own internal business taxonomy usually isn't how a shopper or a search engine expects the product to be filed. Which brings me to the bigger idea. Once you add category to your schema, count up all the places one product's category now lives. You've got product type and Google product category in the feed. You've got category as text and as a category code in the schema, and you've got breadcrumb. That's up to 5 places, all of which are supposed to agree, and they're usually owned by 3 different teams. Feed ops owns the feed, dev owns the schema templates, and they're usually owned by 3 different teams. And then you also have merchandising owning the breadcrumbs. So that is the convergence tax. Every time Google lets the same fact be declared in one more place, it adds another surface you have to keep in sync, and the bill only comes due if those services are authored separately instead of generated from one source. Now, sale duration is the half that's actually worth implementing as long as you sidestep one silent trap. If you put a price in offers.price and also in price specification, Google uses offers.price and just ignores the price specification. No error. It quietly reads the wrong one. So when you add a sale window, put the valid from and valid through on whichever node is carrying the active sale price. Keep your strike through price in the price specification and use full timestamps with a time zone, or a sale that flips at midnight will start on the wrong day. And make sure that window matches your feed's sale price effective date, or you get a classic feed to page mismatch, which is exactly what gets products disapproved. So here's where I land. Sale duration, implement it just carefully. Category, most catalogs don't need to touch it, and if you do, prefer the plain text form and leave GPC to Google. The real cost of all of this is the convergence tax you pay if your product data isn't already coming from one source. What would change my mind is if Google comes out and says category actually affects eligibility or adds that override only warning to the doc. Until then, the merchants who win from Google harmonizing the feed and the page are the ones who harmonized their own data first. The full write-up is on the site, links in the description, and thanks for watching.